When Sister Ezdehar? When Sister Ezdehar?
I got you.
I think up there is what I mean. Not even normal about that. Yeah.
السلام عليكم.
الله يعونك.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. كيف الزهار؟
Just a moment, inshallah.
هذا الكرسي.
ايوه ان شاء الله هاخد.
I told myself I'm going to be better with time today. I'm not going to go over. So Bismillah, I'm going to try. I'm going to keep setting my watch on 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, so that I can hopefully. What's my end time, Brother Mamdouh?
Oh, we have all the time in the world.
No,
Yeah,
I believed you last
because
time.
we.
And then Sister Sita
That-
came in and was like, we have to go. Remember? Oh, I was just telling them how I came in today. Like, I'm going to stick to the time limit, inshallah. Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to say 9:15 so that it could be 9:30. Does that work? Inshallah. Okay. So that way. So I'm a kid. You can't give me the exact end time. So you have to give me the one before. Alhamdulillah, I didn't forget to get the I know don't be mad. Most of them are educational stuff, guys. It's time to gifts. But I know there are some people that RSVP'd on that they're attending via Zoom. Okay. Would you like me to begin? Is it 8:30? Okay. So you want me to wait a few minutes or?
I think we're ready to go. We'll just whoever joins later, inshallah, we'll get them on.
Okay, so I'm going to close this door if that's okay.
I saw Brother Hassan here.
All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaykum salam.
بسم الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. I would like to thank again Brother Mamdouh for inviting me again to do a session today. And so as I was thinking about the topic, I wanted it to obviously be something that would be applicable. You know, I don't like to just talk about things that sound good in theory, but don't really apply to what we could do with our kids at home. And so it's going to be a mesh between how do we take advantage of Ramadan and kind of keep that momentum going. But I'm also very aware that we have some huge break coming up. What break is that? Summer break, okay? And for some parents, 1 week alone with the kids at home is enough of torture, let alone 2 full months. And so I'm really hoping today that you will leave with some ideas or strategies that will help us or help you structure the summer in a way that will be effective. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah. All right, so welcome again to everyone who just came in and on Zoom. And brother, can you just, do they hear me? Can you just ask someone to, so they do? Perfect. Okay, inshallah. So inshallah, so that's the goal for today. The prizes that I feel like it's like now I don't have a choice. Like we have to do a raffle every time we do a session. But I got some really books that I personally enjoy very much. So this is a really great book. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. It's called How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. And it gives like little strategies on different ways to talk to kids instead of maybe the ways we are used to talking to them based on how we were raised or how our parents talk to us. So, and there's like little pictures to go with it. Again, just a great resource. So I have 2 of those. Whoever attended last week's Tarbiyah session, brother, I mean, from Noor Kids, he did mention the 5 love languages. So I thought, why not get a copy of that for anyone who wants to read into it more? Although this one is specifically, this is, I think, the original one that became so popular. And then he had all of the spin-offs of languages with kids at work. But I think as long as you understand the 5, it applies to any relationship, not just, so whether it's with kids or anybody else. So that's one. And then this is a book that I came across years ago. It was a very good read, very interesting. It's called The Collapse of Parenting by Leonard Sachs. So for those of you who are readers, I hope that, and you get selected, you have those. For those of you who are not readers, I did get Twix. Okay, so you get to take your pick, and don't be if there's no Twix left and you just really don't want a book, don't force yourself. Okay, I'll give you a Twix with your child. I'll send it home next week, inshallah. But I would, if you don't want one of the books, then by all means, just either give it to someone who will, but I all of these I know I have personally benefited from. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go back into the topic, inshallah, which is healthy habits post Ramadan. So I have 3 main points that I hope to hit home today, inshallah. Like I said, it'll be applicable and beneficial to all. The first I want to start off with, of course, the month of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, what a beautiful month it always is. I ask Allah to accept all of our Ramadan deeds, our salah, our siyam, our qiyam, everything that we did, every meal that we cooked for our family, any meal that we cooked for a friend or a neighbor, every act of goodness that we did in that month, may Allah accept it and amplify it, and for it to be a means for us to enter Jannah. And the Salaf of the past, right? They used to spend the first 6 months after Ramadan asking Allah to accept their Ramadan. And then the following 6 months, they would ask Allah to allow them to reach the next Ramadan. So imagine that. So a lot of us in our dua, we should be asking Allah to accept our Ramadan that just passed. SubhanAllah, it's almost going to be a month that has already passed. And then eventually we switch gears and ask Allah to allow us to reach the next Ramadan, because Ramadan, again, is a time of extreme benefit and barakah for ourselves and our families. Did you all enjoy Ramadan? Because that was the last time we met, was pre-Ramadan, and we were getting hyped up for Ramadan, alhamdulillah. So the first thing I wanted to focus on today, before we jump into strategies that we can do with kids, is we're going to tap into that very popular saying, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And you have to, realizing that we as teachers, as parents, have to reach out to our own selves before we can give to our kids. So whether that's emotionally, whether that's spiritually, whether that's physically, we have to invest in ourselves and not expect to just give everything to everybody else, but who's giving to us. And so we have to prioritize our spiritual health, our physical health, and our emotional health. And I know that for moms especially, when they spend time on those things, sometimes they're accused of being selfish. They're accused of, they're made to feel so guilty for basically replenishing the tank that they are using to give to everybody else, okay? But we have to be very intentional and very mindful of how we do it and why we're doing it. So intention is so important, right? So if you're like, oh my God, I'm going on a girls' vacation for the weekend, this is to replenish myself. I have to do this girls' weekend in order for me to be a better parent, right? But on this girls' weekend, there's no salah being prayed. There's no Quran being recited. No one's reminding anybody about Allah. You're waking up late. You're eating horrible. Your health is, so you didn't do anything for your health. You didn't do anything for your spirit. You didn't do anything for any of that. But you're saying, but it's for my health. This is for my self-care. But what did you invest in your self-care? So again, it goes back to intention. Do things for yourself, but it has to be intentional, okay? And so when you do things, what is this investing in my spiritual health? Is this investing in my physical health, right? Walking up the stairs is so difficult. I need to start making it a goal to maybe work out or something so that I can be there physically for my kids when they get older, for example. Or again, mentally, if I have, I've been just so exhausted dealing with all of the needs of my kids and their troubles at school or whatever, that I personally need my own hour or 2 hours to just go and speak to an adult. So be very mindful of what your needs are and then seek that for the sake of Allah so that you could better fill up. But on that note of starting with yourself and coming off of the energy of Ramadan, all of us in here, we're doing something extra in Ramadan, okay? All of us were doing something extra that we don't typically do, but we were pushing ourselves to do it more. One of the biggest examples was praying Taraweeh. I'm sure all of us had at least a few days where we were praying Taraweeh on a regular basis, okay? And if you think about it, Taraweeh is essentially praying 8 extra rak'ahs of sunnah after Isha, okay? So all of us on a typical day, we're like, Isha, when is Isha? We pray and we're like ready to just knock out, right? But in Ramadan, we pushed ourselves beyond that to pray extra that we would very rarely do on a regular day. And so after Ramadan, even if you're not going to do 8 rak'ahs, but to say, I'm going to at least stick to 2. I'm going to stick to 2 extra rak'ahs that I'm going to do after Isha, for example. But the idea is to keep that going. In Ramadan also, we fasted for 30 days straight, right? Of course, give or take reasons to not fast, but we fasted for a whole month. Now, are we expected to keep fasting a whole month after that? No. But maybe we could push ourselves to say, God, I think I could do at least maybe a Monday or a Thursday. So we know it's sunnah to fast on Mondays and Thursdays. So maybe say, I'm going to pick one of those days. Maybe which one of those days are light for me, are easier for me. And I'm going to just try to stick to that once a week or once every 2 weeks. I'm going to fast on either a Monday or a Thursday, or if you want it even simpler than that, the 3 middle days, the white days of the lunar calendar, the 13th, the 14th, and 15th, just to say, I want to do something that I wasn't doing before, that I want to keep up. Again, why? To replenish that relationship that you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A lot of us were waking up early, right? A lot of us were waking up before Fajr, whether it was to eat suhoor or whether it was to pray tahajjud. And again, not that you have to do that every single day, but we should at least think, okay, what's one day of the week, maybe a Friday, where I'm going to push myself to wake up a little bit earlier, just like I did in Ramadan. And then the last example I'll give is in Ramadan, a lot of us at iftar time, at Maghrib time, came together as a family to eat, right? To break our fast. And for some of us outside of Ramadan, it is very rare that everybody comes together in the family. All the family comes together at one time to spend quality time together. And so the idea is, let's not get rid of that altogether. So everyone here had their own personal thing, ibadah, worship that they did, that they increased in Ramadan. Pick 1 or 2. Don't pick 5. Pick 1 or 2 things. And you're going to say, I'm going to commit to these as best as I can for the rest of this year. Like that's going to be my Ramadan gift, and I'm going to continue with it. So whether it's bringing the family together to eat dinner, whether it's staying up after Isha to pray a few extra rak'ahs, whether it is, that's my first 10 minutes, whether it's waking up before Fajr, whether it's fasting 1 or 2 or 3 days out of the whole month, but pick something. Because we have to connect spiritually to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that we can continue that with our kids. And if our kids only hear us telling them to do things to bring them closer to Allah, but they never see us doing it, it doesn't hit. And it's interesting enough, I guarantee if they were to do a study of a set of parents where one said little but did much, so the kids would regularly see their parents reading Quran or praying or fasting, but they didn't tell their kids to do that, versus family B, where the parents always told their kids, get up and pray, read Quran. Why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? Why aren't you fasting? But they never see their parents do it. I would assume that family A would see more results because kids follow what they see, not just what they hear. And who here loves to be nagged at? Like, I don't think anyone has reached their position in life, success, because, someone nagged on me every day and that's what motivated me to become a better person. I don't usually think that's the case, right? It's actually the opposite. When you nag, we tend to do the opposite. So leading by example is key, but also feeding in that spirituality. And I did mention the Quran, and again, having them see you. Sometimes just literally like sit in a very visible place in the house, open up Quran, and don't talk to any of them. And if any of them talk to you, ignore them and just sit and read. Just sit and read. And if someone comes and talks to you, tell them, I'm sorry, I'm talking to Allah right now, right? And if they see you do that consistently, I guarantee you that's going to have an impact on them to where like, man, what's this? Like, they might sit next to you and pick up their Quran and read, right? Or they're going to see the value that it is. But again, the point that I'm trying to reiterate is whatever you're doing in Ramadan, don't give it all up. Pick 1, 2, or 3 things and keep it going for your spiritual health, for your spiritual health, for our spiritual health, so that way you can give us give us that energy. And the last thing on this point that I want to mention, which is really important, is dua. We mentioned, and remember those of you who got notebooks, remember when we were in the last session, so that we could take time to really build our dua. We shouldn't just leave our dua now that Ramadan is over. All of the du'as that we had, that we made in Ramadan, we should continue them. And not only that, so yes, we should make dua for our goals, like what are we hoping to achieve in 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a year. But how many of us right now, okay, how many of us in this room currently have something that they're worried about? Okay, how many of us in this room have anything that we would like to accomplish within the next 3 days? Everybody should raise their hand, right? Nobody is worry-free, and everybody should always have a goal of tasks or things they want to accomplish. We should try to make it a habit. Oh, actually, let me give this one. How many of you have a child, right, or a student that could use extra help, whether it's in academics, whether it's in behavior, whether it's something school-related? All of us, right? I have a test this week. MAP and STAR test are next week. Finals are in a few weeks. So there are always needs in our life. There's always needs and wants. So just like we always have needs and wants, we should always be going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with those needs and wants. The more we go to Allah and the more we depend on Him, the more He's going to replenish our needs in ways that we couldn't imagine. But the more we try to solve all of our problems on our own, thinking that we have the solutions, I know what I'm doing, that's where we're going to find ourselves in this perpetual misery and exhausted, because we're relying on ourselves. And are we superwomen and supermen? Yes, you are superwomen, mashallah. But I mean, are we able to solve every problem that we have? No. We need that replenishment. And the number one way is to sit on your mat alone with nobody around you. And it's just you and Allah. And you put your hands up and you go, Ya Allah, you are Sami. And Ya Allah, you are Alim. You know everything about me. And Ya Allah, you are Al-Raqib, right? You're watching me. Or Ya Allah, you're Al-Razzaq, you're the one that provides. Or Allah, you're the Fattah. And I really need some openings in my life right now. And then you let it out. You tell Him what you need. You tell Him the needs that you have, whether they're small, whether they're big. You tell Him the desires that you have, even if it's just for 5 minutes. But we have to make it a habit to go to Allah. We have to make it a habit to take our worries and our needs and take them verbally to Allah. Make that time, make that priority. I guarantee you, if I told you all that, oh, I know a therapist and she has such a high record of like helping people with whatever their issue is, and she charges $500 an hour, people would be rushing to set an appointment with her, right? In a dunya sense. But we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's available for us 24/7. But how often are we going to Him with our needs and our wants? And that says a lot. When we neglect that relationship, right? Allah sees that. And that might be a reason for some of the lack of blessings or barakah in our life, is because you're not going to Allah. And sometimes Allah sends certain tests towards people so that they can exactly do that, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so all of us should not wait for a calamity. May Allah protect us from trials and tribulations. But may Allah help us be from those who don't need a problem. May Allah make us from those who just the ease in our life is enough for us to want to go into Allah and thank Him. Even if those 5 minutes were just, Ya Allah, Ya Kareem, you're the most generous. Thank you for this. My family is healthy. Ya Rabbi, all woke up today healthy. We have another day to spend together. Thank you for the home and the safety that we're living in, and focusing on the blessings. But that connection, that dua, regular conversation with Allah is essential. Okay? So what was step number 1? Dua. What was the heading of number 1? I'm giving you a hint. There you go. You can't pour from an empty cup. There you go. Okay. You can't pour from an empty cup. And then making sure that you're replenishing yourself spiritually, physically, and mentally for the sake of Allah, not for the sake of the dunya. Okay. So for the sake of Allah. And then how do we do that based on Ramadan? Pick 2 to 3 things that you are doing and try your best to be consistent with that. And then dua is kind of like its own dua all the time. Try to make it a habit while you're driving, while you're cooking. Make it a habit to just tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about what's on your mind and what's in your heart. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the next step, which is our goals for our children. Okay. All of us have goals for our children. And if we don't, all of us should have goals for our children. Okay. And these goals are going to change over time. So when our child is in lower elementary, for example, the goals that you might have for them are different than when they're in middle school. And when they're in middle school, the goals that you have for them is going to be different than when they're in high school. And when they're in high school, the goals that you have for them are going to be different than when they're in college or when they're older, for example. So all of the kids are going to have needs that regardless of whatever stage of life, and they're going to change with time. But we should always set certain goals for our kids. And when we set goals for our kids, I actually want to ask you guys for some examples of goals, lofty goals that, I mean, not anything like above, just basic goals that you think most parents have for their children. The way you think of it is when you think of your child as an adult, okay? So like this is how you should think. You should think, what do you want the final product to be? And then that kind of helps you build the goals building up to that. So as an adult, what are some goals that, like, what would be your ideal, as a 20-year-old, how would you design your ideal child? You want to share? Today. Righteous mu'min, right? Righteous believer, someone who has that connection with Allah. Beautiful. Calm, someone who's patient. I think that's very important. Nobody wants an angry adult, right? An angry adult that doesn't know. So calm, patient, knowing how to control or control themselves and deal with people in general. What's another goal? Yes, Justin. But give me details. Give me how would you, because so for example, she mentioned the religious part, right? So how could you complement that with the wholesome piece? Thank you. That's beautiful. Being able to handle the real world. Okay. So what are some characteristics that we would need for that? Yes. Gratitude. That's so for them to be a great overall, a person who is looking at the blessings more than they're looking at what they don't have. That's another beautiful one. Sister Hamda. Respectful, to be respectful to the young, the old, the rich, the poor, whoever they come across, that the child is respectful. Okay. What are some maybe academic goals that we would have for our kids? But let's see. But here's the thing: we specifically want to be specific, because because success could differ from person to one. So, what would an academically successful child be, Sister Hamda? So the more successful they are, the more they're humiliated. That's the other way around, right? Because nowadays, the more successful you are, the humility decreases. We want them to both to increase at the same time. Okay. Here, let me bring it down a little bit. Let's go to middle school, elementary school, high school. What are some academic goals you would have for your kids? They get good grades, right? Specifically for them to be strong in reading, right? Would we all agree we would want our kids to be strong readers? Maybe to be very strong in math, the two subjects that obviously have a lot to do with, all the learning that they're going to have in the future. For them to be good test takers, right? I mean, if you have a bad test taker, you'll realize that, wow, that's something we take for granted, that some kids don't do very well on tests. So these are our normal goals that we should have. So if you notice about your child, for them, maybe to make friends, right? To have good friends specifically. So what I'm trying to hit at is all of us should have goals, because the goals are essentially the direction, right? So without the goal, okay, all right. Without the goal, it's kind of like, well, where are you going, right? What? Because a lot of us do. You will be surprised at the amount of people that just kind of go with the flow. Hey, everyone's taking their kids to this school. Let me take my kids to this school. Hey, everyone's putting their kid in this program. Let me put my kid in this program. Oh my God, everyone's putting them in this after school. Let me put them in this. Why are you doing that? Everyone else is doing it. It looks good. It's fun to talk about at social gatherings that my kid goes to this school and this program. But what's your intent? What's the intention behind it? So we should be intentional about our goals and what is the ultimate. Okay. Now, obviously, the number one goal, number one, number two, number three goal that all of us should have for our children is that they are raised and they die on La ilaha illallah, right? That they are raised and they die with Islam, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their heart and in their actions, that they are a righteous Muslim, okay? That they remember Allah and they worship Him. And to add to that, right, that they have good character. Because that was actually the reason the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent, was to perfect good manners and good character. So these two are very, very, very heavy, right? And they're tied to each other. But being a righteous Muslim, right, who has Allah as a priority in their life, and being someone who has good character. These are two overarching goals that should be the priority at every phase, right? At every phase. Everything else falls under that. And everything else is important. All right. We don't want a righteous Muslim who is good character, but they don't know how to function in society. They're going from one family member's home to live in to another. that we don't want that, right? We don't want the excuse to be, oh, but they pray their 5 salahs. No, we want them to be self-sufficient. We want them to be able to fend for themselves. We want them to be able to get a job or create their own job, right? So those are the priority, but we also want to aim high in other areas. We want them to succeed academically. We want them to be help others. So it's okay to have all of those goals, but we want to make sure that we have goals because they help us go in a direction. Now, sometimes setting goals is the easy part, okay? But what happens is a lot of us stop there. We create the goal, but then that's it. We just kind of keep reiterating that goal. But then when we see that our child isn't matching up to that goal, we kind of get frustrated. Like, man, I want my kid to spend time with the Quran. So let's say, for example, in Ramadan, you were trying to have a family time where everyone's reading Quran, and you noticed one of your kids, man, has no interest in reading the Quran. And then when you open the Quran, he didn't know any of the surahs. When you asked him to open to the easiest surah, right? Let's say you asked him to open to Surah Al-Ikhlas, he couldn't find it. And so there you are now, maybe frustrated, like here I am, I have this goal to have a righteous kid, for him to know the Quran, and he knows nothing about the Quran. What's the first thing you do? Let's be honest. No, you blame the school, right? Okay, that's the first thing you do. Then you yell at them, okay? All right, but there's a level of frustration, like why don't you know any of this? Why? And that frustration sometimes grows and grows. And yes, in this specific example, it's directed at not knowing Quran, but this could apply to something else. You're watching your kid pray one day, and the whole time you're a somewhat older child who's past the age of 7, because we know 7 is when we need to start training them. They're 10, 11, 12, and in their salah, they're rocking back and forth, and they're looking right, and you're like, how does he not know that you're not supposed to do that? I mean, that's what I would expect from a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, but for you to be a 10 and 11-year-old, and you're still looking around in salah, again, you get angry, you get frustrated, you blame the school, right? And then you wonder, how did you get to this point? And then let's take it to the academics. Let's say in elementary, elementary years were easy. Never had to help your kid with homework. It was always like they went in the room, they did whatever they want. Then they hit middle school where, they don't have the homeroom teacher like in elementary that coddles them throughout the day. Now they're kind of left to fend for themselves. Science teacher, math teacher, and then you sit with them one day to, you get their progress report. You're like, whoa, C's, D's, where did this come from? I never saw this in elementary, right? And then you sit with the kid and you realize, okay, what's your math homework? I don't know. What's your reading homework? I don't know. Bring out your planner. We don't have planners anymore. It's on Blackboard, right? Okay, pull up the Blackboard. I can't remember my password. And so it's like one thing after the other. And then finally you find out, right, what the reading homework is after 3 hours searching for the homework, right? You open up the reading book. Yalla, read. You have a test tomorrow. Read. They can't read. You're realizing that your kid is having trouble reading. And you're going, you know how to read. You're in 6th grade. Read the sentence. You can't read. Maybe they know, but it's very choppy. And you're going, what? How do you not know how to read? You've been in school for like all your life. How do you not know how to read? And you get so frustrated, right? And then what do? Blame the school. And then you go off on, how did this happen? What in the world? It's frustrating. So basically what I just gave is 3 examples of parents who have goals for their kids. Want them to know, have a good relationship with the Quran. They want them to know how to pray. They want them to succeed academically and not fail. Okay? But something happened to be missing. There was something missing in all those 3 examples. And that was the fact that having a goal is not enough. Having a goal for ourselves, and especially having a goal for our kids, in and of itself is not enough. That's as if you're saying, I want to go to Orlando. And then you stop there. You don't pick a date to go. You don't get in the car. You don't fill up gas. You don't do anything. You're somehow expecting to magically end up in Orlando. Life doesn't work that way. So having goals is essential because it provides that direction. But the big part, the work is the steps that are going to help you get there. So in that Quran example of the kid doesn't know where in the Quran the surah was, when did you teach them? When did you show them? Were they raised in a household where it was normal to open the Quran and look for a surah? Because if the answer is no, you blame yourself before you blame anybody else. If you're now noticing that your 11 and 12-year-old doesn't know how to maintain khushu' or keep their eyes in one spot in salah, where were you when they were 10, 9, 8, 7, and 6? You have no one to blame other than yourself. And if you're in sixth grade is the first time you listen to your child read a book, where were you in elementary? Where were you reading bedtime stories? Where were you helping them to study? Is it because Allah made certain parts of your life so easy that you neglected the things that were basic and important? So these are questions we, as parents and teachers, have to truly ask ourselves, this is where I want my kid to be, but what am I doing to teach them and to build the habit? What am I doing to teach them and to build the habit? This is essential. This is very, very important. And so that I want to introduce you guys to a concept that I got from a book. Again, I don't have one as a prize, but it's a great book on habits. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear, I believe. Excellent book. It's probably the best book on habits I think that I've ever read. I didn't want to have come in time. So, but if you guys want to get that, but in one of the chapters, he talks about the difference between goals and systems. Okay. So he's talking about goals. One example is every basketball team, right? Every NBA team, all of them have the same goal. What do they want to do? They win specifically the championship. They want to win the championship, right? Okay. But what sets them apart is the systems, right? So systems are, again, the systems you have in place to achieve whatever goal it is that you have. So so results have very little to do with the goals and systems. I'm trying to find the exact wording that I got from the book. I'm not finding. Okay, so results have very little to do with the goals that are set, and nearly everything to do with the systems that are followed. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. All right. So if my goal, for example, is to lose 25 pounds, that's the goal. The systems is the 15-minute walk every day, right? Or it's the eliminating sugar from the diet, or it's the not eating after 8 o'clock. Those habits create the system that's going to reach the goal. Make sense? Or if the goal is to win a championship, okay? Conditioning, right? Running or building your stamina, practicing different, ball handling moves or what I don't want to get. You guys are not a sports crowd, so not the best example, but I'm assuming maybe some of you are, so shouldn't judge. But it's the systems that you have in place. That's what's going to build the ultimate goal. And so what I'm going to do before I move on to the third point is I know all of you brought something to write with, take notes and stuff, or on your phone. I want you to pick 3 goals that you would ideally have for all of your children that would kind of fit for all of them. So write them down somewhere on your phone, if you have a notebook with you. But I want you guys to remember this for the next part. So what are 3 general goals that you would have for your kids? So again, whether it's something related to Quran or Islam or Salah or academics or manners or excuse me, or ties of kinship, which is another lofty goal in Islam. Okay. Yeah, exactly. So this is not like a tomorrow goal. This is like in 5 years, in 10 years. This is something you want to be established and a part of their character. You guys do that too on Zoom, right? 3 goals that you have for your children, inshallah. Wrote them down. What if there's a pop quiz and they come and check your, don't. Okay. I love seeing people typing. Alhamdulillah. Okay. And just something to know, if it's taking you time to think about what your goals are, then maybe that's just a reminder to yourself that this is a conversation you should be having more often, right? So when we think about the goals that we have for our kids or the directions that we want, it should be something that we know like the back of our hand. Because essentially, what are we doing every day, right? Every day we're hopefully working towards the ultimate goal, which is Jannah. But we should kind of know what is the ultimate goal for our family, what is the ultimate goal for our children, and that should be something we're actively asking Allah for and something that we're actively working on. But if like the saying goes, if someone asks you what you want so badly and you can't remember, then you don't want it so badly, right? So in order for you, how you demonstrate you want something so badly is that you're working towards it on a regular basis and you're going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with it in dua on a regular basis. Okay. So now for the third, it's a final concept, inshallah, that we're going to go over. I'm excited for it because it's kind of something I kind of like made up. So hopefully it works. You guys can tell me later if it makes sense. But I'm going to ask 2 parent volunteers real quick. Snowbird, I'm going to use you just because you're sitting here, okay? And then I'm going to use Sister Rawiyah because you're there. So let's pretend, we're at home. Actually, go ahead and sit there, okay? So let's say we have a pantry in the house, okay? And this pantry has, mashallah, you're a mom who goes above and beyond, goes Costco, Sam's Club, replenishes, everything, like to be like those TikTok moms who snack restock or whatever restock, and they have all the stuff that, as a kid, you never would have been allowed to eat. So anyways, let's pretend you have this unlimited, this pantry that has every snack you can think of, okay? And Sister Snowbird gets hungry, okay? And in Snowbird's world, she gets hungry, she gets up, and what do? You just go and grab a Twix. And then 20 minutes later, she gets hungry again. What does she do? Go back and get another Twix, okay? Now, in Rawiya's house, okay, she has a different kind of mom, okay? And so she wants a Twix. The mom says, okay, first build a cube out of these the tiles. And if you're able to do that successfully, then inshallah you get. Oh, there's thinking happening here. Okay. Here, if you lift this one up. There you go. Yay, she did it. Mashallah. Here you go. You get your Twix, Sister Rawiyah, right? Okay. That was just a silly example, okay, of something that has really huge implications, okay? I'm going to give it in a more realistic example, okay? Your child has a Nintendo Switch, okay? A Nintendo Switch is accessible. So in student A or child A, whenever this child has the urge to play Nintendo Switch, go get Nintendo Switch and plays. And not only that, there's no time limit. He can do whatever he wants. He wants to play for, nobody plays Nintendo Switch for 10 minutes, right? He can play for a half hour, an hour, 2 hours. No problem, right? And then you have child B, who the Nintendo Switch is in a location that he cannot or she cannot easily reach. And they know that in order for them to get the Nintendo Switch, how many pages did you read today? All right. Okay, you read the whole chapter? Good. Give me a quick summary. What is the chapter about? What is the difference between these 2 examples? Reward, be more specific. So one had instant gratification. The other one had to. She had to earn it. They had to earn it, right? One of my favorite sayings in the world is you have to earn it. Okay. What is it? Building. Yes, building a system. You have to. There was something required to earn it. The sad reality is, majority of children and even children going into adults nowadays have so much access to whatever it is that they desire, and they do very little things to earn it. And our society more and more is feeding into that need for instant gratification. It is feeding in it in so many levels, and we all are victim to 2-day free shipping, all of us, okay? And now we've gotten to the point where actually I want it overnight. I can't wait 2 days. I want the overnight option, right? 2 hours, right? Yeah, that's right, sir. We've gotten to that point. And then on social media, you're watching a clip. And if 3 seconds into this clip, it's not entertaining anymore, what can you do? Not even just your finger, just push it up. And then you have a new video right there to entertain you. When we were younger, we had to suffer through commercials. right? This generation doesn't know that feeling. No, when you were watching a show and every like, and then someone would say something so suspenseful and they would go to commercials and we had no choice. And I know for a lot of us, that's when your mom was like, Umu, wash the dishes. You have 2 minutes in this commercial. Wash the dishes. You vacuum. And by the time you're done, wallahi, the show will be back. I know. That used to always happen, right? So commercials was like, it taught us that you had to wait for the good part. Now kids don't even know what commercial, they just know how to skip the ad, right? That's what they know. You know how to skip the ad. But back in the day, at least when we were doing something pleasurable like watching TV, there was still some discipline in terms of waiting and commercials or being required to do something. So bring it back to the point is in the example of the child who had full access to his Nintendo Switch, okay? He basically had full access to his pleasure. He wanted to fulfill a pleasure. He had full access to fulfill that pleasure. In example B, that child had the same desire for that pleasure, but they were being raised in a house where they were being trained that responsibility comes first. Responsibility comes before pleasure. Household A, fulfill your pleasure whenever. Household B, responsibility comes before pleasure. And you all might be thinking that this is a concept that starts when kids are teenagers. This is a concept, not at all. This starts as soon as a kid is 2 or 3, as young as they are, and it's nurtured and it's fostered. When a 2 or 3-year-old wants to jump for the cookie, and you remind them that, nope, you have to eat your vegetables first, for example, right? That is when you're teaching them that you have to earn, okay? You have to earn, you have to do something to earn that. And it's very important for us to keep this in mind, because what happens after years of that Nintendo Switch boy having full access to the Nintendo Switch, to the tablet, to the TV, constant? He don't appreciate anything. And as a matter of fact, he becomes entitled. So how dare you, it's my right. Give me my right. So they don't appreciate it. But you know what's the worst part? Is they become a child that turns into an adult that is driven by their desire to please themselves. That is what they wake up every morning. How am I going to please myself today? And the moment somebody challenges them, they can't handle it. They break down. They have anxiety. They fall into depression. Because they were allowed, in the years when they were so under the supervision of their parents, they were allowed to let their pleasures lead the way. Whereas someone who is taught that it is normal to have pleasures in life, but there has to be work done before you earn that pleasure, they learn a sense of responsibility. And then they learn how to earn things that they get. Now, I'm going to use this silly example. This is all I happen to find in my office, where some magnetic tiles. But let's say this was, actually, let's make this realistic. What was one of the goals that, anyone mind sharing one of the goals that they had for when we wrote the goals down? Yes. MashaAllah. Subhanallah.
And then one of the things that I wish for her is that
And she will get there. She definitely will. But what was your second one? Patience, I think, right? Okay. Got you. Okay, so I'm going to run with that one, okay? So let's say you have a child, you really want them to establish their patience. It's something they really struggle with. They can't, they want to have something, they want to have it now. So your thing could be maybe getting a timer, starting off with like a 1-minute timer, right? And in that 1 minute, you want to give them something productive that could possibly tie into another goal that you have for them, right? So let's say you want your kid to be a stronger reader. I'm just using that example. So let's say you have a book and you have a timer, okay? And then in order for them to earn the different privileges, you say, all right, when you read this book for this amount of time, it unlocks privilege A. If you read it for this amount of time, it unlocks privilege B. And then we know what the kids start to do. They start calculating in their head. If the show is 30 minutes or an hour long, I'm going to need an hour of uninterrupted time. So how many pages do I have to read in order for me to get to that point? And they will do that if you make them, right? But if we're the parents of the society of, I don't want my child to be uncomfortable. I don't want my child to experience sadness. No, no, no. The moment I see them tear, oh no, okay, here, go, go, go. Here's the Twix. Here, I'll open it for you, Habib. Here, here. That's what we do. Nowadays, it's society. We can't stand seeing our kids be uncomfortable. But who are you helping? You're not helping them, but you know who else you're not helping? The people who have to deal with them. You're really not helping them, whether it's their teacher, their future family members, their future employee or employer. You're not helping them. So what we have to do is build what I like to call their responsibility muscle. Say that with me, the responsibility muscle. And so that their ability to handle responsibility, okay? And so I want to tie this back to the goals that we mentioned earlier, okay? And so I want to get a mixture of goals. Let's say one of my goals is for my kids. Again, I want them to, I really want them to have a consistent relationship with the Quran. That's something I want for my kids. I also want them to be strong readers. And let's say I also want them to be kind to their siblings, okay? Because I want family to be important to them. And so I want them to, even if it's through force, to build a relationship with their family members, okay? So what we could start doing is by thinking of so those are the goals. So now we're gonna have to think of, okay, what are the steps to get to those goals, okay? So if I want my children to have a regular relationship with the Quran, I have to teach them maybe how to read the Quran or how to find different verses in the Quran. Or maybe I can print out all the surahs that I know they already learned in school, and I have those in a special section. My second goal was for them to be a strong reader. I'm going to get books that are at or below, not above, at or below, and maybe a little above their reading level. I'm going to try to get as interesting ones that are around what they are. I'm going to have those in stock. And number 3, for building relationships, I'm going to make a list of menu items of kind things that they could do for their siblings. All right. Randomly give sister a hug. Okay. Wash brother's plate. Right. And yes, these are things that they go, oh, I'm never doing that. I'm never going to just hug. Right. But, oh, okay, you don't have to hug. And then you're just not going to get your TV time. That's okay. Right. Oh, okay.
Let's say you.
Right. That's what they'll do. Right. That's what they do. But listen, that's his first time hugging. You know, the 5th time it's closer. The 10th time it's a little bit closer. By the 25th time, right? A proper hug, right? But it would never have gotten to the proper hug if you gave up at the first time they hugged. Oh, they're never going to love each other. Nope, you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. You got to make it a priority. You cannot give in. You cannot allow your child to dictate what makes them want to do and what they don't want to do. You have to set those roles. The other thing that was very good or notable to have, especially with summer coming, is list all the privileges that your child has. Let's make a list together. What are privileges that most kids have? iPad, TV, candy, playground. A playground, actually, we're going to leave that. That is a privilege, but that's a good privilege. We want kids to be out running, fresh air. But yes, what does it sound like? Oh my God, especially for your high school, middle school. Oh my gosh. The gaming, big time, right? So gaming, video games, Fortnite, all that fun in quotation marks, fun stuff that they do, right? All right, so those are just a list of privileges. Going out with friends, maybe again, once they're older, right? So going out with friends, watching TV, spending time on the tablet, spending time on this gaming systems, going outside, going to a park. So have a list of privileges. A lot of you didn't mention phone. For older ones, a lot of them have a phone. Isn't that a privilege or is that their right? It's a privilege, right? So again, so make a list when you go home. Please do this. Make a list of all the privileges in your home. So for many of you, your pantry is a privilege. Having access to all that good stuff, that's a privilege. It is, or isn't it at this point? At this point, right? So there are so many privileges that our kids are accustomed to. So on one side, you have a list of privileges. On the other side, you have a list of goals. So now what you do is you ask, how am I going to build the responsibility muscle? Under each goal, I list some habits that are something that they could do on a regular basis. And then I have the privileges. So now I start tying them together. So in the example that I had, okay, my child loves to spend time on the tablet. Okay, here are different things that need to be done before you can even touch the tablet. Okay, so again, remember I said I put a folder on the side of all the surahs that they learn. Okay, you have to spend at least 10 minutes going over the surahs that you learned before. All right, then I have the list of things to do with your sibling. I tie that, doing one of these things grants you this privilege, right? And then what was the third one that I mentioned? Reading, right? So take out a book. Maybe they have to read, they have to write, depending on their age, write a 1-sentence summary of what they read. Now, for a lot of our kids, if we were to bring this up to them tomorrow and say, so yeah, starting now, you're going to have to read this book, they're going to look at you like, who the do you think you are? Who, sadly, what in the world? What role are you all of a sudden trying to, did you get a new job? What are you trying to do? Exactly, right? And who? But really for them, it's like, what are you, who are you? Who are you? Like, since when is it your job to tell me what to do? I tell you what to do, right? Astaghfirullah al-azim, right? But that's the truth, is so many of our kids are so used to doing what pleases them, and anything that challenges that pleasure, they react, they get angry, they yell, they scream, whatever it is. And so if our children are in that state, then we have to step back and say, maybe I didn't do a good job at teaching them the idea of responsibility first. And it's never too late. It's never too late. Because the problem is your child at home, you might be comfortable because, he's not in my face, she's not bothering me while I'm cooking, but they're fulfilling their pleasure. And again, I'll hear this sometimes from parents, like at home, they're perfectly fine. Like, they don't bother me at home. Well, yeah, they're probably not bothering you because they're not in your face, because you gave them every possible gadget to keep them away from you. But the moment you remove every privilege and you're stuck with them in a room, that's when you're like, I can't handle it. How does the teacher do it, right? But when we are at home, they have full access. Then they come to school. What are they expected to do in school? Sit, listen, follow directions. No, you have to finish your work before you go to recess. No, you can't just talk to your friend in the middle of class. All of these rules and expectations, and they're like, I'm not used to this. And it's so sad, the level of the attention span that is decreasing significantly in our kids. They are almost incapable of listening to a lecture without interruption, without being distracted. They get so bored so quickly if there's not visuals and backflips, and teacher has to do cartwheels just to make a presentation exciting. They are unable to. This is very sad. And when you think of, like you mentioned, when you think of the future leaders of the Ummah who are going to lead movements to help the Muslim Ummah, is a kid who is unable to get off a gaming system and who barely reads a book. And are they going to be the ones leading this movement? They're probably not, because they don't know how to put the responsibility of themselves and the community before the pleasure of their own self. So it's imperative that we really take this to heart and question, what responsibility requirements am I putting in the home? With summer coming around, and I'm wrapping up, inshallah. With summer coming around, okay, our kids are going to have so much free time, okay? And for some, it could be very, they don't know what to do with their kids. And alhamdulillah, there's programs to keep them busy, which are great. If you find a program that fits, your child and their needs or whatever their hobbies are, that's fantastic. But generally speaking, when they have a full day, does that mean they have a full day to do whatever they want? Because that answer should be no. All right, the answer should be no. There should be always, all of you should have systems in place where before they can access privilege A, privilege B, privilege C, here's a list of responsibilities. And these responsibilities should align with your what? With your goals, right? They should align with your goals. So even, we didn't mention this, but being a clean person, that's essential. That's an essential goal to be, and it's part of the deen, to be a clean and organized human being. So if your bed is not made and there's clothes on the floor, don't even think to come and ask me for the tablet. Don't even think to come and ask me for the wire so I can start playing my video games. Train your kids to where they're not even going to question you. I'm going to give a small, silly example. So I have a candy jar in my office, and the kids that regularly visit me in my office, they know, how do they get a treat? How do the candy jar? Who knows here? You have to, Sister Hayat, you have to recite a surah. So they know it. They know that in order to get a candy from this jar, they have to recite a surah. So in the beginning, when they would come to my office and they would see the candy jar, they would start helping themselves. Like, nah, I ain't your mama. No, you don't get free access to this, okay? But no, they'll start I'll say, oh, you want a treat? And then of course, all right, recite a surah. Like, what surah do you know? Okay. And at first they're like, I don't know any surahs. Well, I think you do. And then I'll start one off. And then like, maybe they don't know what a surah is. That's something like you do, alhamdulillah. Oh yeah. And they'll recite alhamdulillah, surah al-Fatiha all the way to the end. And then I open the box, they get a treat, they get so excited. What do they usually want to do? The next time they're in their office, like, oh, let me go to that place that get candy from, right? So they come, they want to get candy again. Remember, what did you do last time? And then eventually they were like, okay, in order for me, like they start to learn that in order to get a treat, they have to learn a surah. So now majority of my regulars, when they come to me, the first thing they say is, can I recite a surah for you? They'll say, can I recite a surah for you? They don't even ask me, can I have a candy? It's as if they know that there's no way to get it if I don't recite a surah. And the beautiful thing is that some of them have gotten to the point where they're not telling me, I'm learning a new surah, I'm on this surah now. So they start to associate that and they get excited to come tell me their new surah. And then they get their treat. And sometimes I'll ask them, hey, what do you think I should replenish the jar with? Like, what different candies should I get? What different toys? They'll give me their suggestions. And of course, it's something so outrageous. My toys are this big, guys. It's like little Kit Kat, little Twix, little lollipops. And they'll let me know when I need to replenish it. But the point is that because of what I got them accustomed to, they rearranged so it was never give me a candy. They knew that I have to. And sometimes I'll tell them, you've been reciting the surah for the past month. I want you to start learning a new surah. So next time, even if it's just 3 ayahs of a new surah, you get 2, for example. But the idea is it builds up. Yes.
I like the reward some, but I feel like it kind of backfires a little bit. I just don't know how to. For example, like making the bed. You make your bed, we can do this after. And then they expect something after they do the chore. And for me, I'm like, this is your responsibility.
Beautiful.
Okay, prayed 5 times. Now I want my candy.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Yes. That is.
It kind of backfires. Hey, if I read the surah, I have to get something out.
That's actually really. That's a really good example. And I know this example I gave was very specific to like you do it instantly and you get a reward. Okay, but at home, it's not going to be that simple. It's not, I don't see them every day, right? But in this sense, so what you're doing is you're taking privileges that are already a part of, like they're already doing it, right? So in my candy example, I'm not already giving them candy. That's something extra, but we're going to take privileges that they're already doing. So it's not something that you're incentivizing because they're already doing them. But what you're doing them is helping them realize that this is not something that you get to naturally have access to. You have to earn it. So I'm assuming, for example, let's say the making the bed example, a kid who doesn't make their bed in one of these households, nor does they brush their teeth, but they're still getting access to the tablet, to this, to that. What we're doing is that we're helping them establish that within themselves, these are things that are extra. And you don't get to have them just for the sake of having them. But when you take care of certain responsibilities, you get to earn those things. Kind of like adults. We have, when you start working, for example, and you get money, right? You earn the right to be able to purchase things that you don't necessarily need. You want them, but you earned that right. You paid your bills, you did whatever it is. So for kids, I'm assuming that in most of the households that I'm referring to, these privileges are already there. So it's not something new that you're bringing in. Does that make sense? And then what we're doing is we're just tying that and let them know that, yes, you can play, you can do this, but in life, you have to work before you play. And I hope that answers the question. And so what we all want to do is we want to have those list of those habits that lead to our goals. And then we want to list, and guys, you should start with the basic stuff. Okay, after the age. book, read, I excel. Within a few hours, now you're free. I'm not gonna bother you. You can do what you want because you earned it. But if our kids day in, day out think that their pleasure is their priority, and their pleasure is their priority in this life, we are really setting them up on a very, very dangerous path. So I end this session by asking Allah, it's 9:30 exactly, I think. I want to recap. We started off by talking about taking a few things from Ramadan to keep up so that we can strengthen our iman and ourselves to continue to be able to give to others, right? To our children and to our family. Number two was to be mindful of the number two was to set goals so that we're very aware of what direction we want to go. And number three is to build our kids' responsibility muscle and to emphasize, enforce responsibilities that need to be done, right? Before they can fulfill their pleasure. Because as Muslims, we're always taught, right, that we do not allow our inner self, our nafs, to dictate our decisions. Okay, that's what Shaitan wants us to do, and that's what society promotes. You want it, you get it. We want to train our kids that you have to work first before you're able to access your privileges. And of course, our duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is first and foremost. So I ask Allah to bless each and every one of our homes. I ask Allah to bless each and every one of you and to give you the strength to continue to be the amazing leader of the family that you are. I ask Him to bless our children, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Allow us to instill in them a sense of responsibility and for Allah to guide us and help us know what is best to lead our family to be the best Muslims that we can be. I ask you to help us undo any wrongs that we have done in the upbringing of our children and for us to never ever lose hope. I ask you, Allah, to help each and every one of us take time to set goals for what we want to accomplish with our family. I ask you to help us make a priority in our home the remembrance of Allah and the establishment of salah in the home. I ask you, Allah, to help us raise confident Muslims, boys and girls who grow up so proud that they are part of La ilaha illallah. I ask you, Allah, to help strengthen the relationships of the homes in the Muslim community. I ask you to strengthen the bond of every married couple, Ya Allah, to help them overlook each other's faults and to increase in the level of gratitude that they have. Ya Rabbi, I ask you to protect our Muslim families from Shaitan, who is constantly looking for ways to break up families. Ya Allah, I ask you to help us make more time for our kids. I ask you to help us love spending time with our kids and help us break the negative habit that Shaitan has put in wanting to distract us from our family. Ya Allah, allow us to love putting our kids to bed, having dinner with them, listening to their conversations. Allow us to build a bond with them that will help us instill Islam in their hearts. Ya Allah, I ask you to help our children be kinder to their parents, to respect their parents, and Ya Rabbi, I mean to listen and serve them and to do it with love. I ask you to put an importance of Islam in the hearts of our kids. Ya Allah, help them make salah a priority in their life. Ya Rabbi al-Alameen. Ya Allah, I ask you to take from anything that I said today that was a benefit. I ask you to help us be able to implement it and forgive me for anything that I said that was incorrect. Ya Allah, we cannot forget about our brothers and sisters who are suffering all around the world. I ask you to help them, Ya Allah, to give them victory over the oppressor, Ya Allah. And for all those who are trying to make a change in the world that is of benefit, that is correct, that is standing with the truth, I ask you to give them strength and help them, give them victory as well. Ya Allah, forgive our sins completely, Ya Rab, as if they never even happened. Ya Allah, allow us to all leave here, Ya Rab, with a higher level of iman and love for you than we came. I ask you to allow each and every one of us, Ya Rab, and our loved ones, and our children to die with La ilaha illallah in their heart. I ask you to protect us from the punishment of the grave, Ya Rabbil Alameen. I ask you to make us from those who are arise on the day of judgment with their book of deeds in their right hand. I ask you to make us from those who qualify for the intercession of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam on the day of judgment. In this Florida heat, I ask you, Allah, to help us be from those, to make those who are protected under your shade on the day of judgment. On the day there is no shade but your shade, Ya Allah. And I ask you to grant each and every one of us the highest level of Jannah. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا. Jazakallah khair. The last thing I'm going to do is just the raffle, inshallah, and then you guys are good to go. How did I do on time?
You're great.
Okay.
Inshallah. As soon.
I tried. Bismillah. Let me just open this real quick. Just to recap, I have 4 books and 4 Twix. Actually, do you guys agree? No barter wrong. I should just get those. But if you want to switch it up for a book, you can. So do it now before I call the next one. All right. So Bismillah, the next winner is Umara Salim. Is Umara on? She has to be on to get the prize. Unmute yourself and say you're on if you're there, Umara. Next is Um. no. Sister Ilhana, congratulations. Come on up. Next up, is Sister Omar there? You're so welcome. Thanks for a book.
I don't see her.
Nope, oh, that's so funny, Snowbird, you got picked, so you totally deserved the book, okay? Next one. Yes, good, that was a good one, yes, inshallah. Sister Rachad, I think Rachad is online. Maybe, no? Okay, I'll do just a few more and then this wheel has been a little bit faster. Is Rachad online? Sister Yana, congratulations. Okay, I'll do so that was 3 more, and the rest are gonna be Twix, which are, I like Twix. And, you know, they're yummy. Yes, Farida. Look, this is the only book. Yes. All right, and then Farida gets to just Yaki, and then you're so welcome. Sister Zara, I don't know if she's online. Sister Zara. And last one, just because I don't want to keep you guys here forever. Is Bismillah. Lori Gadolha, congratulations. Alhamdulillah. Zaklakh again, ladies, and Brother Mamdouh, Brother
Thank
Hassan,
you.
and anyone who joined us virtually. I pray that it was anything that was a benefit, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and anything that was wrong or a joke that wasn't funny or anything like that, completely from me. May Allah forgive me. Zaklakh for coming out. I pray you have a
Thank you,
beautiful rest
sister.
of your